Well, Oklahoma softball got the series win in Columbia, Missouri this weekend, but they proved that they are not a perfect softball team, that they are capable of losing a game just like every other team in the history of professional or collegiate sports. But they did finally lose this weekend, breaking a streak of 28 consecutive wins to open the season, but they still come out with the series victory. We are here to break it all down on another episode of Quick Slants Softball Edition on this OU Insider YouTube channel. I am Jesse Crittenden, and I am joined by my softball partner in crime, Mr. Thunder himself, Bryan Clinton. And Bryan, I have to note that before we get into the thick of this, that the Thunder are about to tip off against the Clippers. So you and I are we're really sacrificing to get this video out.
Got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you do. And that's why we're putting our listeners, our readers, we're putting you guys first. We're sacrificing a late March NBA regular season game for like a few minutes to record this. Bryan, I feel like we've got a ton of stuff to talk about, but first of all, you and I had said, both because of how young this team is, and also because this is the SEC and because no teams go undefeated for an entire season, we knew a tough spot was coming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I expected it to be this weekend.
Right.
But, your general takeaway, not only on this series, but OU they've suffered their first loss, game 2, 3-1 against Mizzou.
Just throw in the whole season.
Yeah.
It's over.
Tank it.
Like you said, I think coming into this week, both of us, I think as we kind of discussed in the last episode of Oklahoma Drill, this weekend was kind of the weekend that you thought you might be able to figure some things out going into the Tennessee series next week. And, I was just really interested to see how this team looked in another road series. But really, it felt like, okay, they've taken care of business the last couple of games. This should be fine. It wasn't the case. And they were in, not only did they drop Saturday's game, but they were in a dogfight on Sunday until very, very late. And that game felt like it could go either way. I think probably my biggest takeaway from the weekend is I think this team might be a little too home run dependent right now. Mm-hmm. That is something that I think that can change, but right now it feels as if the offense isn't getting out of the park. It's leaving too many. It's leaving too many runs on base, and at some point it's going to bite them against better teams. I think today or Saturday you kind of saw that the off weeks in previous years probably looked a little bit different. You could probably get away with some of that against an Iowa State. You could probably get away with some of that against, some of the teams that you played week in, week out in the Big 12. But the SEC, yes, Missouri is 1-5 in the SEC now. They very well could push to be a fringe postseason team just because this is the SEC. Like that, every single one of these teams got in last year. So it's going to be tough. You can't have off weeks. And it felt like the offense bit them in that game too. And if you can't score more than one run, you're probably not going to win a lot of games in SEC play. And especially when the pitching staff is having some of the shakes that they are right now.
Well, we should talk about that game too, because game 1, I think, I don't know if I expected OU to run rule Missouri in every game, but they come out 8-0 win in that first game. Sam Landry is flawless in the circle, allowed one hit. I think she had 4 strikeouts, allowed one hit She
Yeah.
was fantastic. OU gets 8 hits as a team. They get 3 home runs. To your point, that when the home runs are flowing, things look good. But I thought, yeah, this is a Mizzou team that's just outmatched.
Yep.
Um, that game too, and it is to the point about how even in the SEC, I mean, Missouri's probably a bottom tier SEC team, but even on the road, or especially on the road, these aren't necessarily easy series. And as much as I think there's some things to dive into how weird games 2 and 3 were for Oklahoma, you have to give Missouri some credit. I mean, really, I was
Absolutely.
pretty impressed with them this weekend. But that game 2, to your point, the home runs don't come. The only one is Nelly McEnroe-Marinas in that 7th inning to try to get a rally going. But the offense had been bad all game. And to your point, they left 10 stranded in
Yep.
game 2.
Yep.
So I think that's one. Two, they had 4 hits as a team going into that 7th inning. Nelly McEnroe-Marinas gets the 5th, but in that 7th inning. But offense looked weird. Lineups were interesting. You saw Patty and the staff experiment a little bit. They put Nelly McEnroe-Marinas in the leadoff spot. I think that's the only time this season she has been. Ella Parker didn't start. That was also interesting. We'll talk about Ella Parker in a second. And this is one of those weird games, Brian, because to me, and we need to talk about the pitching staff a little bit too, as much as it was an awful start for the pitching staff, specifically with Isabella Smith. She gets pulled after 2 innings. She gives up 6 home runs, or she gives up 6 hits. She gives up a home run in that 1st inning. OU's down 2-0. Kirsten comes in the 3rd inning, immediately gives up a bomb.
Yeah.
But after that, Kirsten
Rallied.
Dill was good.
Yeah.
She was as good as she's been all year. But it's to that point of the pitching. I mean, it's not all on the pitching staff. It wasn't a good start. Offense is weird. And I think there's some things to dive into that. But first, let me ask you, I mean, Isabel Smith now, I mean, she's just, again, it's not about trying to single her out. It's not about trying to be, but, Brian, I mean, 6 hits and 2 runs in 2 innings.
Yeah.
Pull her now in conference play, 9.48 ERA. She's given up 20 hits, 14 earned runs, and 6 home runs in 10 innings.
Yeah.
And situation was bad enough that Landry had to come in and start game 3. She starts 2 games in a weekend. I can't remember the last time this coaching staff started the same pitcher twice in a weekend, especially this early against a Missouri team that hypothetically you outmatch, whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much. Are we more concerned after last weekend with where things are? Are you optimistic about Kirsten playing a little bit better? No Audrey Lowry again. Where are you at?
Yeah. I like the positive development for Kirsten Deal. I think that's something that she can build off of, especially it being kind of a road environment, tough spot. And she could have let, 'cause confidence is everything. She could have let the floodgates open after giving up a bomb and just continued to have things pour on, but she didn't. She rallied.
I was impressed.
Did a really good job. Her control seemed she seemed to really have control of things, and it was a good outing from her overall. So that is positive. With Isabella Smith, it's just really tough because with this kind of with the defense that she has behind her, if you can keep the ball in play, more often than not, things are going to work out in your favor. And she's been taken deep. Like she's been taken over the fence out of play, and that just piles up. It really does. And I think the walks are a concern. You're given some free bags. You can't do that, especially with the teams coming up on the schedule. It's put this pitching staff in a hard spot. I mean, what you're getting out of Sam Landry. Again, today she was incredible. I think she had 9 strikeouts. Complete game, looked awesome.
Gave up a bomb, which is rare, and then
Yeah.
immediately was just
Yes.
he was
Yeah.
fine.
Just money again. So, I think it's you don't have to have eyes to see that she's your ace right now, but I think this may sound bad, but I think you figured out who yours two is not at this point.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And I think Audrey Lowry, like having her back in the lineup, if and when, I don't know how long she's going to be out, if she's going to miss any more time, but you know, you need her to be as healthy as possible. And then you just kind of hope that Kirsten Deal can build off of what you saw again today, because right now, as of this point in time, um, I think Smith is probably going to be more of a spot use than maybe somebody you try and start.
See, that's the thing is I think you don't want to give up on somebody, and especially somebody who, I mean, Isabel Smith pitched really well to start the year.
Yep.
But I mean, 3 conference weekends, I mean, we're 9 conference games in, and it just hasn't looked good. And now back-to-back games you've started her in the Arkansas series and now this series, you have to pull her after 2 innings.
Well, and you're a week from April at this point. And so things are you're starting to get to where you're coming down the stretch, and the conference games are getting really important from here on out.
Exactly. And I think it's tough. It was always going to be tough to rely on a true freshman too much, but it's tough that she's out back-to-back weekends. I mean, even I think they're just being cautious. Yeah. But that's tough. Those are innings. That's time in the circle you're missing. And the later you get that experience, the harder it is to get enough of a sample size to see where you're at. So it's tough with her. But the one good thing is, in addition to Kirsten playing a little bit better in that game too, Landry has just been
lights out.
I mean, fantastic. She's been incredible. Yeah. I mean, she goes 12 innings this weekend. She gives up 1 run. She goes 13 strikeouts, 1 walk, I think. And her ERA in conference play through 2 weekends for her, because she missed that first one, 0.3. I mean, she's just been incredible. That's pretty good. This offense, I think, in addition to some of the stuff we've talked about, Nelly Macaron Marina says it's no longer a question. It's no longer. No. I mean, she has been this team's best offensive player.
Absolutely.
By like a billion miles.
Yeah. Especially as soon as conference play started, it became the Macaron Marina show.
No, she hits the bomb in game 2. That was the only really good moment for the offense. She hits another bomb today in the game 3 win, which that's the thing is, even if you're trying to take positives, because I don't know, neither one of us want to be too negative. This is a team that's 29-1 and have won all 3 conference series. So it's not about trying to be negative. I mean, even today, they suffer their first loss. They're still on the road. They need to bounce back today to get the series. And I mean, it's a tie game going into the 6th. They score 4 runs over the last 2 innings. That's the kind of response. That's the kind of timely hits you want to see from this offense. And you get Nelly Macaron Marinas with a home run. You get Cassidy Pickering with a home run. That was good to see Pickering. You know, she's been a slightly below her standards in conference play. It was really good to see that. You get a couple of insurance runs late from an RBI double from Isabella Emmerling. You get a really nice moment with an RBI single from Hannah Core. That was awesome. Even Corey Hicks came in to get a single. That was cool. So all those things. I mean, Gabby Garcia wasn't the standout weekend for her. She went 0 for 6 the last 2 games. That's going to happen. She's a true freshman. She has still been awesome. If I'm looking at questions though, Brian, which again, it's not about trying to be overly critical. If you're looking at questions, I think one that I know I've had a couple people ask me, I've talked to a couple people, kind of close to the program about, and it's Ella Parker, who had a home run in game 1. That was great to see, but she goes 1 for 9 at the plate through the weekend. She goes 0 for 3 the last 2 games. And I think the tougher thing is no walks. That had been the thing for her, even through the first couple of conference weekends when the hits weren't coming. She was still walking. No walks, and now you look at she's batting .91 in conference play. The on-base percentage has fallen to 375. It's just, again, are you going to worry about someone who was pivotal last year and who at times this year has looked like the best offensive player in the country? No, you're not going to hit the panic button. But again, we're 3 conference weekends in. This isn't 5 games into the season. Like you mentioned, we're almost to April. Do you
Yeah.
have either a concern about her? Is there anything you can take away big picture from this offense in a weekend that was a little up and down?
Uh, yeah. I mean, I think it just really what it comes down to is this team is going to have to find ways to manufacture runs without putting the ball out of play. And I think with Parker right now, as you mentioned, she had the home run. She had the one home run. Um, that's the first home run she's had in
In conference play.
conference play, and that was a good moment. But like you just said, she goes 1 for 9 on the weekend, and that's somebody that Oklahoma needs her to kind of get back to being the player that she was when the season started. And I think that's going to start showing up when the tougher opponents come around. Not that, again, Missouri totally earned the win that they got on Saturday. I'm not taking anything away from them, but you know, when you're trying to match bat for bat what you have in Texas and in Florida, when you're facing a pitching staff like you're going to have in Tennessee, um, those things are going to matter. Those at bats, every at bat is important, and I think that um, her struggles right now, as they just persist, it kind of makes you wonder, um, when's the switch going to flip? Because there it's still there.
Yeah.
It's slumps are part of softball and baseball. Like that is just something that happens. Um, we saw for over the last 4 years, we saw some of the best players ever go through spots where they just weren't hitting the ball well. And then all of a sudden, they get that confidence back over a weekend, and down the stretch, they become incredible. I think she's still plenty capable of doing that. She's only a sophomore. This is the first time, really, in her career that you've had long instances of her not living up to a standard that she had previously set. And I think she's going to be okay. Um, it's just a matter of when does that happen? Um, does it happen before uh, it potentially costs Oklahoma a game or two? Because I do think she is that big of a part of this offense.
No, I agree, but I think it's also with her struggles, it's impressive that this team is 8-1 in conference
Correct.
play.
Yep.
And a big reason for that again is just how I mean Nellie's batting 485 through 3 conference weekends.
Yep.
I mean, she's been awesome, but yeah, again, this isn't about being overly critical. This is about we're really getting into the meat of the regular season schedule. So if you're looking for, you
Right.
know, if you're looking for things to watch, it's L. Parker getting back to what we're used to seeing is one of those things to watch. But also in a testament to this conference, again, is Missouri, are they probably a bottom tier team in the conference? Sure. But looking at Tennessee, which is who OU has this coming weekend, their first two games, they play Monday against Arkansas. That's their game 3. So they've only played 2. 6-3 loss in game 1, 9-0 loss in game 2
Wow.
to Arkansas. Again, an
Incredible.
Arkansas team that
That's
is,
crazy.
yeah, it's an Arkansas team that's really good offensively. But I think when you've been projecting the top teams at the conference, Tennessee's been one of them. And
Yep.
they've just lost 2 in a row against Arkansas by a combined score of 15-3. So it goes to show you the
Conference,
depth
man.
of
Yeah.
this conference and how good it is. And also should show, as much as it was disappointing for OU to lose on Saturday, this is an Arkansas. I mean, they swept this Arkansas team that just beat the doors off of Tennessee.
Yeah.
So stuff is going to happen.
Yeah.
Stuff's going to happen in this conference. But OU 29-1 on the year, 8-1 in conference play. They go to Wichita State for a midweek game on Wednesday, and then come back for a 3-game series against Tennessee as a weekend that could be really interesting. I mean, because I think Tennessee's a team with World Series optimism,
Yeah.
and they might be coming into Norman looking to get back on track a little bit.
Yep. And I think that Saturday game is on big ESPN too. I think it's nationally televised. So that'll be fun. Those games, especially when those games make that kind of noise, and are on national TV, they tend to have a little more juice to them. So
Yeah.
that'll be fun.
I believe that game too is the first super nationally televised game for OU this season.
It is.
If that goes to tell you, just I mean, a lot of eyes are going to be on this series next weekend in Tennessee,
Yep.
or against Tennessee. But Bryan, we'll be back later this week with the Oklahoma Drill to talk a little bit more about this team, a little bit more about projecting the weekend. We'll talk about some football. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff. But for now, that's going to do it here on this edition of Quick Slants. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Bryan, appreciate you burning the midnight oil, recording this with me on a Sunday night. You guys make sure to like and subscribe here. This OU Insider YouTube channel. If you're not a VIP member over at OUinsider.com, never a better time to do so. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. We'll see you guys later this week on the Oklahoma Drill and on the next edition of Quick Slants. Until then, we'll see you guys next time.